Happy holidays, YouTube, and for those that celebrate, Merry Christmas. Today I'm going to review A Christmas Carol, based on Dickens' famous novel. And this particular version stars George C. Scott as Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, this was originally a television movie. It was not made as a theatrical release. And I think it affects the pacing, but not in a bad way. I don't think I really have to go over the storyline here. There have been hundreds of versions of this film. I think every sitcom ever made has done a Christmas special dealing with this particular storyline. So it's familiar to everyone. And my love of this film is because it's about redemption, and redemption is a topic which I am very much a fan of, both because I hope to redeem myself and because I always enjoy the promise that others can redeem themselves as well. Because it was made for television, I mean, it had a decent budget, don't get me wrong, but it was not quite on the same scale as a theatrical release would have been. And because it's on a slightly smaller scale, made to fit your television, essentially, I think the blocking, the shot setups, the staging, the way that the actors entered and left scenes, to me, really brought to mind a stage. This really felt, in a lot of ways, like a play that had been filmed and presented to the viewing audience. And I think that gave it a different tone. But still, it was a thoroughly enjoyable film. It had slightly more music in it than I remember in previous editions that I've seen of this, other versions. The ones that weren't musicals, of course, because this is not a musical. This is a straight-up story. Some of the special effects were television quality as opposed to theatrical quality, but I'm willing to forgive them. This is a story about redemption, about Christmas time, about the three spirits sent to save the soul of Scrooge. So, I'm willing to dismiss what minor quibbles I might have had. But I think it was interesting to see Scott, because Scott is a big presence. Scott was not a little television screen actor. He walked onto a scene. He brought everything with him. There wasn't any restraint. There wasn't a lot of subtlety in his role. It was all played very broadly. Again, very much like a stage actor would. And I think it lent a nice air of the dramatic. Now, the one thing that I didn't really enjoy out of this a whole lot, I thought the soundtrack was a little overblown. I think it went a little too much like, sappily romantic, just a little bit too showy in some ways. I don't think it supported the storyline so much as almost overwhelmed certain scenes, which is a bad choice. If I'm noticing your soundtrack instead of noticing what the actors are doing on the screen, that's a problem. You need to have a soundtrack that supports the scene and blends seamlessly with what the actors are doing in your scene. And I felt the soundtrack detracted from certain scenes. I did really enjoy the fact that they seems to have explored. They explored Belle, Ebenezer Scrooge's love of his life. And I don't remember ever seeing a version of this that had done that before. Because I've actually discussed this with my wife in the past. Hey, I've never read the book, she asked. I said, did they explore Belle in the book? And it was nice to see the life that might have been. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the fact that Christmas meant a much different thing at this time. Now, remember, it was written in 1843, so Christmas hadn't quite become what we know as Christmas. It was much more about the family gathering, about the friends gathered together, and frankly, that's what I would prefer to have for a celebration. I would like to get together my friends all in one spot and get to spend the day with them. For me, it's about being with who you want to be with on that day, it isn't necessarily always going to be your family. Unfortunately, a lot of the people I consider friends are all over the world, so the possibility of getting to hang out with them is going to be somewhat limited. And a lot of my friends here in the United States are scattered all over the place, physically, and they have familial obligations as well as I do, so the ideal Christmas is not going to be achieved. However, in a film like this, I can kind of touch that ideal Christmas. I can live it vicariously through the film, if you will, and get to watch a very good performance and a story about redemption, which is something I love. So I enjoyed this version. I can't say it's necessarily my favorite, but it's a very good version of this film. It's very close to my favorite. I would think I've seen a couple of the original early black and white ones, and I think one of them may be my favorite, though I can't remember which one it is at this moment. But I thought it was very appropriate to review this particular film on today. I hope you had a happy holiday.